Hey everyone, welcome back to the Craft Parenting Podcast, the podcast about two Cincinnati craft beer lovers with a parenting problem. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Joe Ludwig, and with me is my lovely wife and co-host, who might be sleeping, or sleep podcasting, Caroline. How's it going, Caroline?
Oh, hi. We did a lot this weekend, and I'm not used to that. So I'm still recovering. And Lily woke up at 5:30 this morning because she loves us dearly. And I was not awake at 5:30 this morning, and I'm not awake now.
Well, we will get through this. We have another great show planned out this week. And as you mentioned, you had a very big weekend. We are going to talk about a very small, minuscule part of that weekend because it was jam-packed. But we went to the Missing Linck Festival, which was in Northside.
Yep.
Mostly at Urban Artifact and Humble Monk Brewing. However, there were quite a few other places that were involved as well, like the Ludlow Garage, Higher Gravity, and possibly other places as well. So we are going to talk all about that. We're going to kind of do an abridged history. I'm going to talk a little bit about the beers because we had quite a few. But we were responsible.
We were.
And then we are going to talk about our experience there.
Mm-hmm.
So let us dive in and get started. But before we do that, we have some drinks in front of us. And Caroline, you have this extra special variant, barrel-aged. What is this in the dock? Hydroxy dioxide?
Dihydrogen monoxide?
Dihydrogen monoxide. It's this it's really rare, isn't it?
It is. It's called 20 minutes ago, I was sleeping in bed with a toddler, and now I'm recording a podcast episode. And I drank enough beer this weekend to make up for not drinking any beer this week. But you have not water. What are you drinking?
No, it's not water. It's dihydrogen monoxide.
Sorry, my bad. Dihydrogen monoxide.
Barrel aged. What's the ABV?
0.0%.
Oh, okay. We're being scientific.
Yep.
With the.
And there's also 0 IBUs.
Oh, excellent. Great.
Even though IBUs are fake and don't matter. So it's really, really hoppy, actually, even though it's 0 IBUs.
Okay. So this is the lowest ABV barrel-aged liquid ever in the history of ever.
Yes. My brain is broken. What are you doing?
So I am drinking something actually. It is the Nutcase Porter with Peanut Butter by Listerman Brewing Company out in Norwood, Ohio. ABV is 6.8%. And you actually brought this back after, was it your second last class at Xavier?
It was when I was doing my homework. Well, redoing my homework at Listerman after my class. Yes.
Okay.
Because all of the cool kids do their homework while they're at a brewery, drinking beer and eating chili fries.
That's what the college kids do, apparently.
Yep. Because that was me. I was college kid.
So now it is time for What's Bugging Caroline in Children's TV, where you, Caroline, tell us all about the lack of physics and logic in children's TV. So tell us what is bugging you this week.
So we've been listening to a lot of Barney lately, and it's just reminding me how much I really wish that Barney did not come into our house, because half of the songs are stuck in my head all of the time now. And usually I'd be like, okay, this is my life now. But half to 3/4 of the Barney songs are not original. Even the Barney theme song isn't entirely original.
It isn't.
No.
The lyrics are.
The lyrics are, but the melody is not. Because it's, oh my goodness, my brain is literally melting right now. Is it John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt? No. Yankee Doodle.
That's it.
The tune for Barney is Yankee Doodle. But they also take all of these camp songs and slightly tweak the lyrics. I mean, language drift is a thing. So maybe it was someone's camp song. But also, some of these songs are like copyrighted. So they probably did actually tweak the lyrics. So they couldn't get in trouble. So I have the stupid versions of songs stuck in my head because they're not the versions that I grew up with at camp.
Maybe Camp stole it from Barney. Did
No,
you think of that?
Because camp has been around longer than Barney. Just like everybody's like, oh my goodness, Baby Shark. It's the best song ever. Why are they playing why are they singing Baby Shark at camp? Because we have been singing Baby Shark at camp for the last 20 plus years.
We sung Baby Shark. We did we did stretches before marching band.
Mm-hmm.
And we would do cheers to, I guess, pump us up. And almost always the cheers were led by a lady who happened to be in Girl Scouts. So we would basically do Girl Scout cheers.
The Princess Pat lived in a tree.
No, we would do Baby Shark.
Mm-hmm.
We would do Joe and the Button Factory.
That's a good camp song.
We would do Bananas of the Universe Unite.
Peel, banana, peel, peel, banana, peel. And then you slice banana, slice, banana. Eat, banana, you mash, banana, mash, banana. Eat. Yeah. I mean, in the proper version of Baby Shark, it involves happy sharks, losing limbs, and reincarnation. And that's like my brief, the song that Pink Fong or whoever it is put out is a very, very reduced version of the joy that is the actual Baby Shark song. And most camp songs are very morbid if you think about them for more than 2 minutes. Baby Shark is one of those songs.
Yeah, because like you said, you lose.
In
your version, you lose a leg.
And an arm. And there's some other stuff.
This brings me to the Way I Heard It by Mike Rowe.
Mm-hmm.
You probably already listened to this because we were listening to it, and then I kind of zoned out and I forgot where we left off, so I just re-listened to it.
Yeah.
It was the Memorial Day episode, so I guess it's a little bit old at this point. But they're talking about the Indianapolis that sunk. It was a World War II Navy vessel that was torpedoed, I guess. I don't know the whole story. They got attacked by sharks. The people in the water did.
And there was lots and lots of blood in the water.
Yeah. This got dark really fast. But this was, most people heard of the story through the popular movie Jaws.
Mm-hmm.
Which I haven't seen Jaws in a very long time. So I wouldn't remember that part specifically, but apparently one of the characters was aboard that vessel, the Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
It had like 2,000 people on it or something. 900 people went down the ship. 800 people were just swimming in the water, and like 300 survived.
Yeah, I mean, there's some crazy stories.
This is like a World War II era ship. I think it delivered the nuclear bomb to a base in the Pacific.
Potentially.
It had a super secret mission, which I believe involved the nuclear bomb that they eventually did drop. Because planes back then, you couldn't just fly it across the ocean and drop it. I guess you had to deliver the bomb relatively close to Japan, because I'm sure it was really heavy. And we had bases all throughout the Pacific. We were doing the island hopping and stuff.
150 sailors from the USS Indianapolis were eaten alive after the warship sunk in World War II. Yeah, it was sunk by a torpedo from a Japanese submarine, July 30th, 1945.
Mm-hmm. You read about the special mission. Are you on Wikipedia?
I'm just on Google. They actually found the ship not crazy long ago. Because that was August of 2017. They found it in the Philippine Sea.
Yeah, like I said, I believe they were delivering the nuclear warhead that they eventually dropped on one of the cities.
That would sound right. I have to enter my email to continue reading. That won't happen.
On Wikipedia?
No, on National Geographic. Oh man, this is an expensive. Actually, it was relatively cheap ship. It was only $11,000 to make the thing. But that's like 1930 money. Is that still a bunch of money?
Yeah, that was really expensive back then.
Mm-hmm.
When a can of Coke was 5 cents.
Yeah, so it was. They were on a top secret high speed trip to deliver parts of Little Boy, the first nuclear weapon.
Okay, so everything was compartmentalized.
Yeah, I mean, the only people who actually knew what were going on were the people that were on the plane that ultimately delivered Little Boy. And the people on the plane, I think this is a different episode of The Way I Heard It, probably with the same guy. It was his episode last year or 2 years ago where the people that were on the plane delivering Little Boy didn't know whether or not they were going to make it back home because they didn't know how fast the damage was going to happen from the bomb versus how fast the plane was going to be able to go.
Right.
So they thought they were basically going on a suicide mission, but we're going to attempt to make it home.
So I don't know how we got there, but we were talking about sharks.
Yeah.
Songs that got stuck in our head. And we somehow got into Jaws and man-eating sharks. I don't know. Is there anything else that's bugging you this week?
I mean, there will for sure be more the more we get into Barney. But that's just the Barney light version with Caroline's brain is currently melted because she's very tired.
All right, let's move on then. Okay, Missing Linck Festival. So as previously mentioned, we went to a beer festival over the weekend, and that beer festival was called Missing Linck Festival, Linck. It was in Northside at Urban Artifact in Humble Monk, and as previously mentioned, I think there were other businesses involved, like the Ludlow Garage and Higher Gravity. If Higher Gravity wasn't involved, they at least got business because of this festival.
I want to say it was one of their anniversary weekends, too.
Oh, was it? At Higher
believe
Gravity?
so.
I still have not been to the Higher Gravity in Northside, though apparently it was right there. So this is kind of the history, the abridged history of the Missing Linck Festival. The Missing Linck Festival is a celebration to a very unique piece of Cincinnati's rich beer history. Listeners of this podcast will know that Cincinnati is a beer town. And for the newer listeners, thank you for tuning in, by the way. We dedicated 4 of our previous episodes, to the history of Cincinnati beer. So make sure you go back and listen if you want to know more all about that. Editing Joe put the links in the show notes. Back in the day, before refrigeration, our beer was stored in what is called a lagering tunnel, and these tunnels were throughout OTR, mostly in like the sub basements of these buildings. These tunnels, they were typically, like I said, they were deep underground, so that the beer would stay cool. And when Prohibition came, they were basically sealed up and forgotten because they weren't allowed to brew any beer.
And nobody really went down into the tunnels anymore because they didn't have another use for them because refrigeration was starting to become a thing as well.
Yeah, that's true. Refrigeration at that point in the 1920s, it was starting to become cheaper and more widely used. So fast forward, these tunnels were rediscovered during the resurgence of Over the Rhine in the late 2000s, early 2010s. And in 2016, the lagering cellars below the former Linck Brewery were discovered. They found in these lagering tunnels, they found a intact pre-prohibition wooden fermenting tank that had sat dormant for generations in these abandoned cellars.
And they're not quite sure if it was, in fact, a legit from the Linck Brewing Company brewing vessel, or if it's something put there during Prohibition, because typically these cellars were used for storing beer in casks. They weren't used for actually brewing beer, and it was a brewing vessel that they had found. But still, when they were looking, they found, I'm going to make up numbers here for a second. I want to say they found 20 different strains of yeast, 10 that actually did things, and 1 that acted like a brewer's yeast, but wasn't related to any brewer's yeast that was on file at Omega Labs.
I don't know about those numbers, but on the website, they have pictures of Michael and Brett testing all of the really gross beers that the yeast strains made. Mm-hmm. So they found multiple yeast strains. I'll get to that in a second. But these lagering tunnels, they were dark and damp, perfect for mold and yeast growth.
Yep.
So this is where local beer historian Michael D. Morgan, head brewer Josh Elliott, and Urban Artifact brewmaster and co-owner Brett Coleman Baker come into the picture. Now, Urban Artifact, for those who don't know, they specialize in sour beers or
Midwest fruit tarts. Brett now likes to say that they don't really brew beer. It's related to beer, but they don't like calling what they do beer because it's such a...
Well, that's a marketing branding decision, but
yeah.
At this point, they were doing sour beers / Midwest fruit tarts. So they specialize in this type of alcoholic adult beverage. And these beverages tend to use wild yeast strains. So this is kind of their specialty.
A little bit.
They like to harvest wild yeast strains. And I think Brett Coleman Baker is what's his degree in? They threw it around. It's a fancy degree. It's like biology, microbiology.
Potentially. I don't remember.
They had an idea that maybe there was yeast on this equipment that they found because, like I said, the lagering tunnels were damp and dark, which would be perfect for preserving a specimen like a yeast, like brewer's yeast.
Yes.
So they did harvest a bunch of yeast, and they tested the yeast. And after many tests, they finally found a yeast strain that produced something that was
drinkable.
Drinkable, yes. And it is this yeast strain that is the basis of a brand new beer festival in Cincinnati. So I don't think I said this before, but going back to the historian Michael D. Morgan, who helped Brett Coleman Baker of Urban Artifact and Josh Elliott of Urban Artifact. He is the same historian who wrote the book Cincinnati Beer, which we based multiple episodes of our podcast on.
Yep.
So he is very involved in the story of this yeast. He had the historical expertise, while Brett had the brewing expertise. Brett and Elliott, I guess, because both were involved. And I guess the entire Urban Artifact team, too, because there's marketing and a whole bunch of planning that went involved in all of this. So, yeah, the long short of it is Brett and Michael found the yeast that was brewable. It was drinkable. They did the hard work testing out, drinking the different
They put their health on the line
specimens,
for the city of Cincinnati.
But they donated this yeast strain to the city of Cincinnati. I believe they sent it to, did you say Omega Labs?
Yep. So at Omega Labs, anyone in Cincinnati can call up Omega Labs and get this yeast.
And I'm assuming that they are multiplying it and keeping it healthy.
It would not make sense for us to get any unless if we went in with someone else, because we would have to get such a large batch that...
I don't know.
Or it would be so expensive to get such a small batch.
They invited all Cincinnati breweries, and I think they had a bunch of home brewers too.
Yeah, I think they gave away the yeast to home brewers specifically for the homebrew competition.
Okay.
But they donated the yeast to the city of Cincinnati in 2019, and June 1st in Cincinnati is known as Missing Linck Day, Linck, and the first Saturday in June is when they plan on having the Missing Linck Festival every year.
Yeah.
And if you go, you could see Sasquatch. So keep an eye out for that next year. We saw him this year.
In 2022, I believe, I'm just trying to quickly count, I think it's 9 breweries were involved.
9 or 10. But Brett said more breweries wanted to be involved and said that they got mad at him for not inviting them. And he's like, well, you can do it next year. I didn't know you would be interested.
So 9 or 10 breweries were involved, and they brewed a wide variety of styles of beer, all using the same yeast strain that Brett, Michael, and the team found in this lagering tunnel. So kind of a cool story. It is a wild yeast strain, which wild yeast does funky stuff.
So it's totally 10 breweries because Westside isn't on this list.
I don't think they were on the...
They were. Westside was at the festival and they made a beer, adding them into the dock.
Okay, fine. It was 10. Sorry, Westside. I didn't see you on the website. But this yeast strain is a wild yeast strain, so it doesn't conform to the same rules that other brewers' yeast might conform to. So I can see how it could be kind of risky, I guess, as far as a brewery trying to brew, using this yeast. They would probably have to do it on a pilot system or something really small and see how it tastes. I would imagine that you would have to do that if you're a home brewer too. Like you would have to do multiple batches to figure out.
Ideally, but last year Westside only brewed one batch of this. They didn't do a pilot batch. They just went for it. And Colin said while he was okay with the beer that they had made, he wished he had done a test batch and then made changes to it. So sometimes they just go for it.
Yeah, sometimes it's not plausible because you don't have, if you're a small place, like I imagine Westside is probably small as far as capacity, and Brink's probably small too. Like they don't have enough space in the tank necessarily to, like I said, you would have to do it like in a small, like a firkin or something versus like a big tank and take up space just to not like it, Though I don't know, I'm not a brewer, so, but I would imagine that you would have, if you're a home brewer, you would have to test it, but you don't, you typically only make 5 gallons, so.
We only make 5 gallons. Some home brewers make
more.
Yeah.
Not for a competition necessarily, but.
Well, they're not going to turn it in for a competition, but they're going to make it.
So very quickly, let's go through the beer list with breweries. It's not a very complete list because it doesn't have couldn't find in the very short amount of time that I had to produce this episode. I couldn't find the ABVs for all of them in one place.
I have half of them. I apparently never took a photo of the draft list at Humble Monk, but I did take a photo of the draft list at Urban Artifact.
Okay, well then read it.
Okay. On draft at Urban Artifact, they had Urban Artifact's Banana Nut, which was a Midwest fruit tart at 8.4% ABV. And this beer looked real gross, but tasted real good. Because it was like a weird, like light, murky yellow color. It kind of looked like a banana smoothie, but was way more liquid than a banana smoothie, which was not what I was expecting. I mean, I didn't know what I was expecting from an Urban Artifact. I just said, give me your beer and then Brink's beer, because I knew that those would be two beers that we would like.
I mean, it wasn't bad, but it did look questionable.
It tasted really good, but it looked weird.
What did I say? It wasn't bad.
No, yeah.
Is that what I said?
That is what you said. It was not bad. It just, you had to get past the visual of it. Because a lot of Urban Artifacts beers have like some kind of red fruit in them, so they tend to go more red. But with just banana and nut, this beer just, the color was something to get used to. So their description is, Urban Artifact's Missing Linck 2022 plays to the strengths of both Artifact and the heritage yeast. Made in the brewery's signature Midwest fruit tart style, the beer emphasizes the yeast's honey-like characteristics to produce a delicious blend of banana, walnut, and vanilla flavors with a slight touch of honey, all finishing mildly tart. At 8.4% ABV, this beer is crisp, decadent, and perfect for a hot June day.
And my question was, where did the tartness come from? Because just like it says, it had like a sour aftertaste.
So at this point, I don't think that Urban Artifact is able to make a not sour beer because they have enough of those yeast strains hanging out in their equipment that they have no choice. Because once you have sour yeast strains in your brewery, you have to disinfect everything like crazy, or just accept that whatever fermenter you put that in is now your sour brewing fermenter.
Okay, so the sourness comes from the yeast.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the fruit.
Correct. So the brewery that was furthest away, so I'll be curious to see if there's a brewery from even further away next year, is Carillion Brewing Company, which is based in Dayton, Ohio. Their little tag under their name is Premium Ales and Hearty Fare. So they did a coriander ale that was 5.2% ABV. Carillion's Missing Linck 2022 starts with a historic recipe first published in Cincinnati for family brewers in 1831. This coriander ale features pale malt, cane sugar, coriander seed, and chili pepper, per the original recipe. If you're interested in trying your own hand at making an early 19th century brew, or you just don't believe that chili pepper was really a beer ingredient in 1831 Cincinnati, here's a link to the original publication entitled Family Receipts, or Husbandmen and Housewife. Husbandmen and housewife it just sounds funny. So I didn't realize originally when I got it that there was chili pepper in this until the beer started to warm up. And I wondered, why does this delicious beer make my mouth burn a little bit?
I remember this one.
And it was because it contains the chili pepper.
Yeah, I remember it. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was good. So the next one I have is the OTR Stillhouse Quadruple Ale. For Missing Linck Festival 2022, OTR Stillhouse is brewing, quote, the drink for links, end quote, a Belgian-inspired quadruple ale. Julia got this one, and I tried it, and I don't remember enough about it other than it was good. I enjoyed all of the beers.
The beers that we got.
Yeah. But so like the OTR Stillhouse and the Urban Artifact beers both came in smaller glasses, just because they are more beer-y beers.
They're heavier beers.
Yeah. The next brewery I have is Wooden Cask, which has a Belgian red ale, 6.2% ABV. Wooden Cask's 2022 Missing Linck is a medium-bodied Belgian red ale with a wonderful aroma of clove and flavor to match. I think you got this one.
I did get this one, and this was probably my favorite, one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm.
There was another one that was a close second, and I will reveal that
when we
later.
get there.
Yeah.
And then for Brink Brewing Company, they did a Belgian red ale, 6.0% ABV. I swear that Urban's beer list said it was a Saison, though. So I don't know. What is What is Life? Their description is a strong Belgian ale fermented with a blend of French and Belgian yeast, as well as the funk-producing Missing Linck strain. Traditional European hops provide balance to the funk farmhouse and spicy phenolics. Highly attenuated with a drying finish added with a higher carbonation, has a sort of champagne-like mouthfeel. Deeper colored with use of darker grains and a soft malt complexity. Slightly higher in ABV than table saisons, this is considered, quote, standard strength. So you do mention saison in their description.
Maybe that's it then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would walk back my claim, and I would say that there was a 3-way tie.
Because this was your first beer of the
Yeah.
festival.
Yeah, so it was the Brink. Of the ones that I had at Missing Linck, it was the Wooden Cask, Brink, and then there was one more.
I'm trying to find the rest of the list, but I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Breweries that we have not yet talked about. So they were ones that were on tap at Humble Monk. Bierkiss Brewing had a Missing Linck beer. Cartridge Brewing had a Missing Linck beer. Fibonacci had a steam beer brewed with blueberries. Did I miss that one? That sounds really yummy.
We did miss it.
Dang it. I'm going to have to get my hands on that one somehow. And then Humble Monk did 2 different beers. They did Goldie Links, which was a Belgian blonde ale.
And that's the third in my top 3.
Mm-hmm. And they did Hydra Squatch, which was a session IPA. And both of them are very delicious. And we had gotten Goldie Links before. Now I'm really bummed that I missed that Fibonacci beer. We just got to go back.
I don't remember where it was.
It had to have been at Humble Monk because it's not on the tap list for Urban Artifact, but maybe it was at Urban Artifact and it just didn't make the print. Because we did actually see Betty and Bob from Fibonacci at Missing Linck Festival.
Yeah, Bob was... He just casually mentioned that... Or no, Betty mentioned... He's like... Because we were like, hey, where's Bob? Well, I didn't say that. Julia said that. Because I guess she knows them more than we did.
Mm-hmm.
And says Julia's like, hey, Betty, where's Bob? And Betty's like, he's over there. He decided to walk down from Fibonacci to Urban Artifact, which is like 5 miles or something.
And we're like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, I'm about to do a 150-mile run or race, walk thing.
It's like a hike. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, have you trained for that? Not really. Okay. Ask for help if you need it.
Good luck to him, because I don't know why anyone would want to do 100 miles.
Yeah.
I don't know how long of a period that is either.
He said it was like 2 days.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much the face that I made too.
I mean, if we're doing 100 miles over 7 days, sure. I guess.
Maybe.
It's still a lot.
So for the festival, got to the festival, we went to Urban Artifact, we each grabbed a beer, and then we decided that we were going to head over to Humble Monk once we finished our beer. And this was the first year that they had a legitimate festival. They were going to have one in 2020, and then the pandemic happened, so only like 3 breweries actually made Missing Linck beers in 2020. And then 2021, they had a quote festival, but it was more just like, hey, we have this beer at these breweries, you should go drink it. There wasn't really anything official. So we left the kids with my mom, and we wanted to scope out the place and see how things were going. We knew that they had some events throughout the day, including live bands, tours that were led by Brett and Michael, a cheese and beer pairing. I want to say there was something else that you could get tickets for as well, but it might have just been a second tour. So we go to Humble Monk. We get our next round of beers, both of the Humble Monk offerings, and we look down into the brew house and we see the beer tours going on. And we're like, oh, it would have been nice if we would have gotten tickets, but que sera. We'll enjoy our beer and we'll enjoy the festival. And then we see Julia and her Josh. So I creepily take a photo of them.
So creepy.
And just send it to her. But she didn't notice it. And then as Josh is coming up the stairs, I see him and he sees me. And we're like, hey, it's you. So we just start talking to them and walking with them and the tour. And this is when I learned that my husband doesn't know how to just sneak his way into things. So we start hanging out with Julia and Josh. We get to see Urban Artifacts Warehouse, where they've got all their beer storage now.
And the rats. My God.
Oh my goodness. And they're rats the size of Joe's feet.
Which, for those not on the live stream, are huge.
So huge. And we got to see all of Urban Artifacts fermenters. And was it their mash tuns that they had named after different action heroes? I don't quite remember.
I don't know.
Again, my brain is melty.
You found Gatorade flavored soap.
So we joined the tour. We also met someone that I went to high school with, and we hung out with him for a bit too. He does a lot of craft beer things. So we talked to other Joe for a while, drank a lot of beers. So we ended up back at Urban Artifact, got another round of beers. In the bathroom, as one does, being of the female persuasion, ran into someone else that I knew who's heavily involved in the Cincinnati Homebrewers Association. And she was getting ready to lead the cheese and beer pairing. And so that was cool. So I talked to her before she did that.
It had a very sexy name. It was like cheese and mold and beer tasting or something.
It did. Let me find it. Tours and events. They're going to be like, why am I getting all these hits on this website after everything has ended? So they had beer and dessert, artfully and craftily delicious. That was at 1 p.m. And then the tour was called 2 Dudes, 2 Breweries, and 6 Beers.
That was a tour with Michael D. Morgan and Brett Coleman Baker.
Yep.
/ Sasquatch.
Correct.
Bigfoot.
And then, so for the other tasting, it was beer and cheese, a.k.a. the fungus and mold tasting. Because, quote, fungus, mold, and bacteria. We usually label these species as germs and blame them when we get sick. But did you know that under the right conditions, these microbes are also responsible for putting alcohol in our beer, creating sour beers, and making many of the tastiest, most complex flavors in cheese?
I did know that.
Yeah. I also knew that. And then at the end they say, you'll have a blast and gain an understanding of why beer and cheese make a much better team than cheese and wine. We're going to have to do that next year. Just because I like cheese and I like beer. Therefore, we should do that.
Yeah, I didn't know how long we had as far as
I didn't either.
The kids and the babysitter situation.
Yeah. So they also had a homebrew competition. They announced the winner of that later on in the night. They announced that the day before. And they had some food trucks there as well. Fruit Blood, who makes fruit-based wines, was there. And so we got some samples of that. That was good. The vibe was really cool.
We met the brewer. Is she the brewer at Urban Artifact?
Yes, we met one of the brewers at Urban Artifact, Hannah.
The other thing I would say about this event is Brett was dressed for the occasion. Some call it the missing link between humans and, what is it, the in-between, humans and monkeys? Yes.
Humans and apes.
So the in-between between humans and apes is Bigfoot or Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
I cannot say that.
He's sassy. Sasquatch.
Sasquatch.
Close enough.
Okay. I just call it Bigfoot. But yeah, he was dressed for the occasion and he...
I don't know how he did it because I was warm in shorts and a t-shirt.
I thought he was just going to be dressed for the tour, but he was dressed the entire day.
I think once you commit to putting on a Sasquatch costume, you just kind of have to leave it on all day. There was also someone who had a T-Rex costume, like the blow-up one. But fortunately, they were not in that for long because those just get humid and super hot.
This kind of reminded me of Bachfest in that it was based around a beer, obviously.
It was very community-based.
It was smaller, but it wasn't like there was no one there. I mean, there was plenty of people there.
Yeah, but it wasn't like you were waiting 20 minutes to order a beer and elbows to asses people.
Yeah, and it was definitely not like Oktoberfest. All the beer was different.
Yeah, no two beers tasted exactly the same. So it was nice seeing everybody do something a little bit different. I mean, and going off of the beers that I had full descriptions for, everybody had a little bit of a different style and their own little twist on the beer or on the yeast to make a beer, which was nifty to see as well.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun. We were able to spend, we stayed, let's see, we got there around 2 and we stayed, we overstayed our welcome.
We were supposed to pick up the kids.
As far as the babysitter goes, the kids were at your mom and stepdad's house, who they have a new house out in Harrison, Ohio. So as if
we had to drive away from town to go to town.
If we could pick a babysitter location, the furthest point away, it would be Harrison, Ohio, almost Indiana.
But unfortunately, that's where all of our babysitters are moving to.
Yeah. Yeah, Northside is central and downtown, basically.
Yeah, uptown.
Sure. Uptown. No, uptown is by UC. It's down from that.
No, it's over from that.
It's down there.
Somewhere in the city limits. It's down a hill, but it's still up from the river.
Okay. I've never heard Northside called uptown.
I mean, it's north side, but it's definitely not downtown. It's like up west town.
Well, the point is, your mom now lives basically in Indiana, like right on the border.
And all of the beers are not near Indiana. So I'm going to need some breweries to open up between our house and Harrison, so it's easier to do date nights.
But 9 times out of 10, or 9.999 times out of 10, your mom comes here. So,
but as the kids get older, they're going to be going to her house more often.
Is that what she said?
I don't know, but one can hope.
I mean, I'm fine with that. I think they need to get out of the house.
For sure.
More, but going down a rabbit hole, I'll try to stay focused as we close this up. But is there anything else you wanted to say about the 2022 Missing Linck Fest?
I had a good time. I'm glad that I went. And while I don't think the kids would have hated it, I'm glad that we left them at home so we could enjoy it as adults. But
I think they would have hated it.
I foresee taking them in 2 or 3 years. Maybe. There were children there. There weren't a ton of children there. But they didn't have it's not like Oktoberfest where you have a Kinderplatz where you for sure have activities for small children. That could change as the years go on, but I don't really think there are things for small children to do at Bachfest. Well, they have the little kids run. There are a handful of things for kids to do at Bachfest. Maybe one year there will be a handful of things for kids to do. Words are hard. My brain is still melty. There'll be a handful of things for kids to do at Missing Linck Festival as well.
Yeah, during the day they didn't have any live music or anything, but at Humble Monk they were definitely setting up for that. Yeah,
I think a live band started at 6 because we listened to the live band for a little bit.
Okay. But we were inside and the speakers were pointed out, so it was hard to hear.
Correct.
We hung out with Julia and Josh for quite a while too. So that was fun.
That was fun. We met new people. We networked and told people about the podcast.
Yeah, I think that does it for Missing Linck. So I look forward to going next year.
Yeah, I do too. Okay, Joe. Now is the part of the show where you try to make me laugh. I don't know if you have an advantage or a disadvantage because my brain is very melty and having issues understanding things. So, what you got?
All right. Well, I'm trying to stay on theme with the whole Bigfoot Sasquatch.
You said it right.
Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Okay. Here you go. So I'm staying on theme. So how does Bigfoot tell the time?
3 hairs past a freckle.
No.
I don't know then.
He uses a Sasquatch.
It's like Sasquatch, but it's a watch.
Yes. It's a specific brand that he uses.
Yeah. On an unrelated note, during my business trip, my coworker went to a pawn shop to get car tools and instead walked out with a Sawzall and a watch. I am still confused as to how that happened. I don't understand. Boys are weird. Why are boys weird?
That does it for this week's show. Thanks so much for listening. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe to us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We are at Craft Parenting Podcast on all of those platforms. You can also get a hold of us via email, which is craftparentingpodcast@gmail.com.
And similar to Truth, Beer, and Podsequences, all complaints can be sent to @RagingHop on Twitter. If you like what you hear, please leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Make sure to share the show. It's what helps our show grow. If you'd like to send us stuff such as fan mail, craft supplies, or sanity, sleep is another thing that would be nice. We have a P.O. box.
And all this information is available on our website, www.craftparentingpodcast.com.
That's where we post the show notes, plus some stuff that doesn't make it into the show, in the form of blog posts. That is not what any of that text said in the order that it said it, but that's where my brain put it. I'm on Instagram @CarolineCreatesCrafts, and on Facebook. I have a Facebook page too, Caroline's Creative Crafts.
And you can follow me personally on Instagram @CraftParentingJoe. And with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Caroline.
See you next time on the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Night night. Just end the show. I think my brain died.